Y'all, guess what? I've had sex, and we're gonna talk about it.
I'm never gonna talk about it with y'all. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So in this video, I want to talk all about being vulnerable on the internet. I've gotten this question a few times, like how I decide how much to share on the internet. That answer has kind of changed with time. So I want to explore in this video how I've gotten to the point where I am more vulnerable and authentic and transparent in my real life, and then that has translated onto the internet. And some tips if you are thinking about how you could do the same, if you want to do the same. No pressure. If you want to be fake, you can be fake. Don't let people pressure you into being real. If you want to be fake, be as fake as you want. All right, before we get into the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We just hit 12K. Y'all are the best. Y'all are seriously the actual coolest subscribers. You might subscribe to other channels on here, and that's fine. If you are subscribed to me, just know you have really good taste, and I recognize that, and we all recognize that. So like, seriously, good job. Let's get into the video. For this section, I've called it the beginning in my notes, and then the subtitle is gonna be you get what you want. In my beginning days on the internet, I'm talking AIM, MySpace, Tumblr, I saw Facebook start, I saw Instagram start, and I know in like 60 years, when I'm like a proper old person, and I'm gonna tell people that I saw Instagram start, they're gonna be like, what's Instagram? Let's get you to bed, grandma. In the early days of the internet, I was oversharing like everyone else. I think those early days were all about how do we find another person who is like us? How do we feel seen? Because in our personal life, because of our friends or our family or our culture, our society, or just the ideas we've been taught since birth, we didn't feel comfortable showing our full self in that life. And so we were like in this internet life where truly it's just this void, it's just this new alternate dimension.
I don't have to worry about things I say ever coming back to haunt me. I can just be my true self.
We felt safe doing that, you know? And I feel like that's what made communities on Tumblr really powerful, and those early days so special is because you really felt like you were finding your tribe. One of the most powerful memories I have of being early on the internet. So I've got a scar on my arm that I've had since I was like 3. From like puberty up until like my early 20s. I was still pretty self-conscious about it. But I remember being like in my teens and reading someone's post, and the person was talking about having 3rd-degree burns. And she was like, I've got 3rd-degree burns on all over my body, and guess what? I still get dick. And I was just like,
oh, that's so great to know.
That's something you're concerned about, is getting these men's attention, you know, and if that's something that is gonna be out of the cards for you because you don't look a certain way. And to hear someone say, no, like, girl, you still gonna get some dick if you want, was really helpful for me. I have no idea who this person is. I'll probably never meet them, never get to say thank you. I know what it's like when someone just telling their truth and telling their experience can be genuinely very healing and very restorative for someone else. I then had it in my mind. I might not be there yet online or in my real life of telling my entire truth, but I want to get there because I know how much it helps. And beyond just the healing it gives other people, I think we all want the same thing, which is to love and to be loved authentically. And the only way you can get that and be that and do that is if you are your authentic full self. Because that just makes so much sense to me, I was like, all right, this is something that's important to me. This is something that I aspire to do. And so I'm gonna make it happen. So I think that'd be my first tip, is like decide for yourself if you genuinely want to be loved and seen for your full self, and if you're willing to go on the journey to allow yourself to get there. Because you can also live a whole life and never be seen for who you really are. And that sounds so hard. This middle section we're gonna call It's Not As Bad As You Think. So after those early days of the internet, when we were like almost like children, right? We didn't know no better. We were young, we were free, we didn't have any self-limiting beliefs yet. We hadn't been taught shame and judgment and self-loathing. Then we shifted into the next period, which was when we started to realize that the stuff that we put on Facebook could cost us a job. The stuff that we put on Twitter could cost us our public reputation. We started having to really think twice, because if part of us we were sharing was really trash and people didn't like it, they could be like, It was not unlike adolescence, when it was like,
oh wait, I want to be my full self, but people think it's weird.
Or they're not gonna like me, and I just want to have friends. I just want to have a boyfriend. And so you start kind of shoving yourself into like the parameters of society while still trying to do what your soul and spirit wants, which is to be your actual authentic self. And this was around the time that I started YouTube. Not in my actual adolescence, in the adolescence of the internet. And I'm realizing, as someone who knows that the internet started in like 1980 because of like a government program, the fact that I'm calling the middle of the internet when Facebook got big, I realized what's happening, all right? Don't feel the need to correct me or do any additional research. So that's when I started my YouTube channel, and I feel like my YouTube channel reflects that. So not only was I being about 20% of my real Chimdi, and I have done some polling, and apparently if you know me in real life, I'm about 50 to 60% of my true self on YouTube. Which, can you imagine? Can you imagine this version that you're getting to see only being 50 to 60% of who I really am? The blessing to know me in real real life. Related, I saw a meme that was like, don't forget that people having your time is a privilege. Not everyone can just hang out with you. It's a privilege to get to spend time with you. Me, but also you, watcher, you know, listener. Don't let anyone just get your time. You have something precious that is genuinely a privilege, all right? So treat it accordingly. Anyway, so when I first started my YouTube channel, I wasn't even going by Chimdi Hazy. I was going by Hold Me Like, which is from a Maya song about how good her pussy is. Love that song. So it was that bit of like, I'm gonna show you who I really am and put myself out there.
But I'ma still hide just a little bit.
I don't want you to be able to Google my name and find it, but if you do like the second page in the search results, I want you to be able to find me. That is reflected in my content, but I think it was also reflected in the success I had because people only ever want to see the real you. There's this rapper who I love, his name is Vince Staples, and what I really like about him is that every single interview he does, he is always himself. It doesn't matter who he's talking to, it doesn't matter how big the audience is, he is always going to be himself. There is no code switching that he does. And I think the reason why people code switch at all is for safety reasons. You need to be able to still get promoted or accepted or listened to or heard in whatever environment you're in, and you believe the best way to make that happen is to show up in a certain way. And so to see someone who is like, no, I recognize my own worth, my own value, what I have to say, and so I'm gonna show up as me every single place I go. I was like, that is so inspirational. That's what I wanna be. Seeing people do that and still be very successful, that's when I was like, okay, let's actually be that person in my own real life. In the same way you can see it in my YouTube, that's actually what's happening in my personal life as I started to move differently in my world and connect with different kinds of people and have different kinds of relationships and be exposed to new ideas in my life and realize that life was beyond just what we've been told. That's when I start to show up differently. The tip for this section is that you don't need to dive all the way into being your full authentic self if that sounds scary to you, because it was scary for me. You can tiptoe into authenticity. You can just give a little something, little here or there, and then as you put yourself more out there and you realize that it's totally fine, it's not as bad as you think it's gonna be, it's not gonna be people like hurling negativity at you. Literally, I go on my YouTube comments and I'm just like,
people are so nice.
Like, y'all are so nice. And I know many people, they don't think YouTube comments kindness, but for me, I'm like, wow, YouTube, they're so nice. They're so sweet to me. They pour so much love on me. I feel so held. I know that you get what it is that you give. When I started giving more of the real me, I started getting more real love. That has given me so much motivation to continue to be more of my true self. So that brings us to now, the present moment, the only moment that ever actually truly exists. I'd say in this moment, I'm about 80% of myself in my real life. I think there's still about 20% of me that's still in the shadows, that still has the shame and the self-judgment and self-criticism and really genuinely thinks that if I show those parts of myself to my closest family and friends, they're gonna be like, and to be clear, I'm actively working on healing those parts because I'm not sure that's not true. I think it's not true. I'm healing so that I can be sure it's not true and show those parts of myself and get the love that I want and deserve. But as a result, because you know, the internet brings in a whole additional level of shame, I am only around 50%, 60% of my true self with y'all. And I do think my spiritual journey has played a major role in what has gotten me to be more of my real self in my real life and thus on the internet. I'm reading A Course in Miracles, and one of the things that the book talks about is that people only do two things. They only give healing or they ask for healing. I'm not reading, but a friend is reading me Untethered Soul right now. And one of the passages talks about how a lot of people still live their life like they're under attack. They are just in survival mode. And so instead of it being like lions and tigers and bears, it's now emotional attacks on their identity and on their ego. I think so often the reason why we don't feel safe to be our full selves in our real life and then on the internet is because we're thinking about the attacks. And reading that book and other books around what people actually want, which is just love, that lens has made me see people who are maybe kind of going through it and showing up in a way that might seem negative. I'm kind of realizing that no, like they are also in the way that they can, that they know how to, also just asking for love. So in my instance, it'll be, for the most part, y'all are so dope. Like seriously, y'all leave the best comments. But every now and again, I will get a comment that could be construed as negative. And normally what it is someone demonstrating that they feel attacked in some way, they feel hurt or harmed in some way, and they're using my comment comment section to express that because they're looking for healing, right? In the instance of my hit series on here currently, which is about quitting my job, it'll show up in comments that are like, you know, you're really privileged to be able to do something like this. You know, you have a YouTube channel, you're getting money from that, so don't act as if you haven't really. Comments that are really saying, I wish I could do what you have done. I don't believe I can. And as a result, I'm gonna attack you because you're doing what I wanna be doing. A Course in Miracles talks about like the battlefield and how you can't find peace while you're still on the battlefield. So you have to remove yourself so that you can actually get the peace that you want and deserve. And so when I get comments like that, I'm not gonna argue with people on the battlefield because that means they're still in it. They still think that's where life is happening. I'm gonna meet them where they're really at, which is that place of like wanting and needing love. And so I go right to the matter of like, you deserve a life you want to. I'm not unique. You deserve a life you want to. You are worthy of love too. I see it, and I'm not gonna pretend that it doesn't exist. So even if you are pretending that you don't see who you really are, I see who you really are, and you are someone who's worthy of love. That lens is what allows me to greet all comments, which genuinely are really wonderful and positive and great, and the ones that are a little bit more critical with that same energy of love. Because fundamentally, we get what we give, and I want love, and so I give love, and I want authentic relationships, so I try to give to the best that I can my authentic self, and I want vulnerability, and I want to be deeply seen, so I try to give that. I try to give that vulnerability and to give genuine sight to the people that I'm in contact with. That is what I hope to continue to do. I think earlier, I say earlier and I mean like 2 videos ago when I was talking about how I don't want to heal no more, I was like, you know, fighting against the journey a little bit. Now I'm just like, yeah, this is it. I'm in it. I'm committed to the healing. I'm committed to the growth. I know it'll be ups and downs. I'll stop being surprised. I'm really excited that y'all are on this journey with me because it's gonna be real interesting to see where this goes. I was thinking about this story that I told my friend in person about my first boyfriend, and I told her the story and she was like,
girl, you need to tell the people this story.
And I was like, and part of why I was hesitant, still am hesitant, is because not only do I think it paints me in a negative light, and why would I actively paint myself in a negative light, but also I think the truth of that story could hurt the other person, and I wouldn't want to actively hurt somebody. But I think that is an illusion, that I think truth is hurtful when in reality the truth can only set you free. And I actually made an Instagram post where I like high level alluded to this first boyfriend. But I'll watch YouTube videos and folks are like, here's the story of how I lost my virginity, and I'm just like,
what? On the internet? You're gonna tell people?
As if like we haven't been having sex for millions of years and we're only here because all of our parents decided to have sex. It's still because of, you know, society and culture. I think that's like very taboo for me. So I'm thinking like, y'all, when I'm like married with like 5 kids, that's when I'll make a YouTube video that's like,
y'all, guess what? I've had sex. And we're gonna talk about it.
I'm never gonna talk about it with y'all. I wanna give a succinct version of the answer to the question, how do you decide what to put on the internet? The succinct version is that I lead with love. If it's gonna make someone feel loved, if it's coming from a place of love, if I think it'll help people, I think if it'll inform people, make people feel good, I'll share it with them, because that's how I want people to feel at the end of watching one of my videos, is really, really good. If I think it'll cause harm, if I think it's coming from a negative place, if I think it's causing more strife, I'll probably edit it out, and maybe I'll show y'all some bloopers when we hit 20K. For now, we're just gonna have to keep those deep in the archives. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Y'all are so fly and so dope and so cool and so sexy for subscribing to me and supporting this channel. Truly, I love to see it. All right.